Algebra students, we are going to look at how do you graph a quadratic function. So you've been solving ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Now you're going to graph y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Remember that we used to graph linear functions, y equals mx plus b. We'd find the y-intercept and we'd use the slope and we'd have some linear function. Quadratic functions are not linear functions. They have a graph, a shape that's called a parabola. I call it a parabola because it helps me spell it correctly. A parabola is a U shape. And in that U shape, there is a vertical line of symmetry. And we can use some things that you already know to figure out important points of this parabola. So one is this point here where the parabola intersects this made-up line of symmetry, and that's called the vertex. Then for every other point, there is some other point corresponding to the other side of the axis of symmetry. So what you need to know is that if you have a quadratic equation that looks like y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, you can find the x-coordinate of the vertex. So the vertex has got an x and y coordinate. You can find the x-coordinate of the vertex using the formula the opposite of b over 2a. Now that looks like part of the quadratic formula, and it's not a coincidence that it looks like part of the quadratic formula. It looks like just this part right here, negative b over 2a. And the reason it kind of looks like that part only is this plus minus part over here is what would move you off that line. Plus, minus, plus, minus. This is the only point that has that being a 0. So you start by using this and you get some value for x. Once you get that value for x, you're going to plug it into your equation. And that's going to be your vertex. The other thing that's interesting is this a value tells you different things. It tells you if it opens up or down based on its positive negative sign only. So if this was a positive 1x squared, it's going to open up. And if it's a negative x squared, it's going to open down. The last thing we want to talk about is c. C is the y-intercept. So just like in a linear function, we could easily find the y-intercept. Now we can easily find the y-intercept here as this constant at the end. And we'll use that for some of our symmetry. So all I want you to practice right now is how do you find negative b over 2a for any quadratic, and then how do you find the y-coordinate when you know that's the x-coordinate. So take an example like y equals 2x squared minus 6x plus 7. All I need you to do right now is write down that a is 2, b is negative 6, and c is positive 7, and then use this formula, negative b over 2a, to say x equals the opposite of negative 6 divided by 2 times 2. That gives you a value of 6 over 4, which is 3 over 2. Now you plug that 3 over 2 in for y, and you get y equals 2 times 3 over 2 squared minus 6 times 3 over 2 plus 7. Then you just do a little arithmetic. This is 2 times 9 fourths minus 6, or how about minus 9, because this cancels out and I'm left with a 3 plus 7. And now this 4 cancels here, and I'm left with 9 halves minus 9 plus 7. That's negative 9 halves plus 14 halves, and negative 9 halves plus 14 halves is 5 halves. And so the vertex is the point 3 over 2, comma 5 over 2. That's all we're going to be working on tomorrow, and that's all I want you to be working on right now is this idea of how can you find the x-coordinate of the vertex. So I'm going to give you 3 examples for you to find the x-coordinate of the vertex for tomorrow's class to show me. So y equals x squared minus 3. Find the x-coordinate of the vertex and the y-coordinate of the vertex there. Y equals 2x squared plus 8x minus 1. Find the x-coordinate and the x and y coordinate of the vertex there. And then lastly, kind of a messy one, y equals 3x squared minus 6x minus 5. So write down these 3 quadratic functions, and for each one, find x equals negative b over 2a, whatever that value is, it's some number. Then plug that number, whatever you get in for x, and solve for y. And when you get what y is, you have the coordinates of the vertex. All right, nice short video for you. Talk to you tomorrow. Peace.